It's been over a week since we came back from Lake Como, and I filmed a lot of B-roll when we were there, hoping to come back home and make video with all the explanations about our trip to Lake Como. We went at the end of October during school holidays, so the weather was kind of unpredictable, but there were no crowds and it was a really pleasant trip. So I'm going to tell you everything I can remember about what we did, how much things cost, and what were my favorite things about our trip. If you want an overall impression straight away, it was very pleasant. So as I said, we went at the end of October. I was hoping for a lot of like golden leaves and less crowds, and we got just that, with a lot of rain. But I read somewhere prior to our trip that the weather is actually better than the weather forecast in that area, same as here as in the south of France. So we were hopeful and we got lucky. We live in the south of France, near Antibes, near Nice. It's really close to the Italian border, so it took us about 5 hours from here to get to Lake Como. No need for any airplanes or anything like that. We took our car and we just drove in, and within half a day we were there. We were there early afternoon, and the whole drive was actually really lovely because it's mostly along the coast of the French Riviera and Italian Riviera, and then more inland for an hour or so, and it's really close to Milan. If anybody wanted to visit Milan at the same time, we didn't. We just wanted to have like a relaxing trip in Lake Como. And that's what we did. We headed straight there, and around 2 o'clock we were in Varena. It was raining on that day, but it really wasn't anything crazy. We had our raincoats, we had umbrellas, we had a good time. When we arrived in Varena, it was raining a little bit, but my family even managed to grab an ice cream. And I'm actually really glad we booked our stay through booking.com, and I will leave the link to our residence where we were staying in the description. It was really lovely, and it was on the northeast side of the lake, and the closest biggish town was Varena. Varena is probably the only biggish town on that side of the lake, and we loved it. So that was our first stop. The rain picked up later in the evening, so we explored Varena a little bit, then went back to our residence. Don't come to that residence by foot, only if you have a car, because it's kind of on top of a hill, and that's why you get a super lovely view of the lake. You need to drive up a road, which was a road in some places. You get a pool, you get a hot tub, and you get an amazing view, and our room had everything we needed, so we were really happy with our stay. As we arrived, the manager of the residence welcomed us, gave us the key, and provided us with some information about what to do in that area, if we needed any shopping, if we needed any tours or anything like that, which was super helpful because we needed all of that. The rain picked up that same evening and we wanted to go out for dinner, so he recommended visiting one of the towns in the north area of the lakes. So we headed out there, and unfortunately we didn't go to any of the places he actually recommended, but we went to a restaurant. We were very excited, had some pizza, had some wine. It was really nice. One of my children, Tessa, who's 7, she's obsessed with pizza, and the other one, Anais, who's 5, she's obsessed with pasta. So we had everything we wanted. They loved every second of our dinner. The rain was getting really strong, so straight after dinner, unfortunately, we had to go back to our residence, where we stayed for the rest of the night. The following day, according to the forecast that came true, we would be having a thunderstorm the whole day, and it was actually quite scary. It was really intense. In my experience, the thunderstorm comes and goes pretty quickly, but we had a thunderstorm the whole day with lightning and thunder. It was really scary. The rain was pouring down. We thought, you know, we might just stay in the room the whole day. By midday we were done. For lunch on that stormy day, we actually went out to a big shopping mall that was recommended by the manager of our residence. And we had lunch there, we browsed around, and there was a massive supermarket, huge. So we just went and picked up some pasta. There were aisles of pasta. It was actually very exciting for the kids because they could find the shapes that they would like. Italian pasta is superior. So we picked up pasta and tomato sauce and cheese and pancetta and things like that, because we were probably going to stay indoors for the rest of that day, which was a good idea. When we went to charge our car, which wasn't inside of that shopping mall, we drove around. It was really stunning. We were going to go back there. It was more inland, away from the lake. It was really beautiful, but we didn't unfortunately have any time after that day, because we spent all of our stay exploring the lake and the villages around it, which was totally worth it. So if we go back, I'd like to drive in more inland and see what it's like. The nature was stunning. After that, we had 2 full days left in the area, and we kind of decided to splurge on the second day, and we booked ourselves a private tour recommended by the manager of our residence to go see Villa del Balbianello. I hope I'm not butchering the name, because the place was stunning. So I've seen and heard a lot about this place on the internet, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, YouTube, and it was definitely worth it. They have weddings there, they have like engagement photo shoots there, because the place is just stunning. It's a villa that belonged to a famous explorer in Italy, and when he died, he donated it to the Italian Heritage Association. I'm really sorry if I'm not getting the facts straight. With our private tour, first of all, we got to visit the area by boat, private boat. I think it was up to 12 people on that boat. Get a private tour. You arrive, you don't wait, you arrive by boat, you go up the stairs, and there's a private tour guide waiting for you, taking you around the villa, telling you about the explorer and his life and adventures. And then you have some time after the tour to walk around and take it all in and take pictures and things. Then by boat you go back to where you came from. We came from Varena, but there was an option to be dropped off in Menaggio, which is one of the 3 large villages in the central Lake Como area. There's Varena, Menaggio and Menaggio. So from Varena we went down to Villa del Balbianello, then via Menaggio we went back to Varena. We decided to go straight back to Varena and not get dropped off in Menaggio, because we had the following day when by ferry we wanted to explore the rest of the places. This private tour was 70 euros per person, and children were half price, so we paid 210 euros for this tour, which was 2.5 hours overall. So I think it was half an hour by boat from Varena to Villa del Balbianello, an hour and a half there, and half an hour to go back to Varena. We spent the rest of the day in Varena. There was a lovely park in Varena for the children right by the ferry port. Whenever we needed to wait for the ferry, we'd just get the tickets, wait in the park. The kids were loving it, and then we'd just go on the ferry. The following day we wanted to visit Varena, Menaggio and Menaggio, all by this ferry, which was fairly cheap, really quick, and the best way really to see the central Lake Como area. The following day we arrived fairly early, parked the car and went to the ferry port. Day 3, the day when we take the ferries in the central Lake Como between Varena, where we are right now, Menaggio that way, Menaggio that way. Got our tickets to go first to Menaggio for 4 people, 2 adults, 2 children. It's only 13.80, so it's a very decent way to travel, no need to drive. And we heard that driving to Bellagio is a pain. The roads are not very good. Driving to Menaggio is easier but long, and it's just across the lake, so we're gonna take a ferry. Fairly cheap and convenient way to travel. I've watched quite a few YouTube videos about traveling around Lake Como, and everybody suggests checking the schedule. We checked the schedule yesterday online, and there is a schedule for the ferries here, so you don't miss the last ones. Currently in Varena, traveling first to Bellagio. So quite a few boats throughout the day. You just sit there and take it all in the middle of the lake. It was stunning and really the easiest way to get around. Going by ferry to one of the main tourist villages, I feel like it's a must, especially if you haven't been there before. So ferry, yes. We saw Bellagio from the boat the previous day. I wasn't blown away. I was the second day. It was grandiose, I think, in my opinion. It's not big. As you go in, one of the first streets, and you start going up to explore, I was blown away. It was really stunning. The shopping looked amazing. I really regret not buying anything because I thought, oh, well, we'll have time. We didn't have time because we were just walking around Bellagio, and it was just mind-blowing. And then we climbed up to kind of the top of the village, and it was almost time to eat, like 11:50 or something. So we started looking for a place to grab some food, and we went to this fresh pasta place that looked more like a takeout, but they had a few tables. So we walked in, and when we were one of the first ones, and there's like a layout of fresh pastas, and you like pick and choose what you want. Whatever I had, I'll put the name on the screen right now. It was, I still think about it to this day. It was cue like Italian opera singing. It was just, it had fish eggs, so technically caviar on top. And that's something I love. Nobody in my family would have even tried it, but it was just, I'm not good at describing food. I'm not a food person. I eat, I like what I like, but especially when we go out, I like to eat something that I wouldn't have cooked at home. I wouldn't have tried otherwise. So that was exactly what was needed on my trip. In Italy, they would bring like a little basket of bread or a little bag with bread, and then at the end of your meal you see a little charge on your bill, on your receipt, and that's for that bread that you didn't ask for. So it's kind of deceiving. In France, they would just bring you a basket of bread, and that's included in everything, so you don't pay extra for it. But in Italy, they just bring it to you, and you're like, ah, that's just like in France. I don't mind if I do. And then you find like a €50 charge on your bill, which is like, it's not much, but still, it's a little deceiving. But on that occasion, I was so happy that I had bread, because I had to like use it. I ran out of pasta, and the fish eggs, the caviar was still there, so I used up all of the bread. I could have licked the plate, it was that good. And the kids had just pasta with olive oil, and I think Tessa is now converted into a pasta lover rather than a pizza lover. She's obsessed. That's all they eat at home now. Easy dinner. Then we continued exploring Bellagio, which was just so beautiful. There's just something about that area in Italy that the light is always perfect. I was running around with my camera taking pictures of the kids, of my family, of everything I could see. It was just beautiful. And every town in that area, even though it's like on different coasts of the lake, different areas of the lake, the light was just perfect. It was beautiful. After we were done with Bellagio, we hopped on the ferry, bought a ticket. It was really easy. The ticket people told us, you have to run, the ferry is leaving right now, and you can buy a ticket on the ferry. We didn't have time to buy it at the ticket office, so we ran They were closing the gates for the ferry. They opened the gates for us, and Ollie managed to buy a ticket right there on the ferry. So like if it's the last second and you don't have a ticket with you and they let you in, you can buy a ticket on the ferry. How convenient is that? And we went to Menaggio. That was the last kind of destination for us to visit. Also 10-15 minutes, you there, 13.80 for 4 people, so it's like €4 per person, and the kids cost less. Menaggio is a lot flatter than Varena and Bellagio. In Varena and Bellagio, you arrive, you kind of visit the close to the lake area with shops and restaurants and all that. But also if you want to go and explore a bit more, you have to climb up, and there are stairs. Might not be the easiest for older people or people with like buggies and strollers and stuff. Menaggio is a lot flatter, and as you arrive you kind of have to travel more into the village. So it's not like in Bellagio or Varena when you arrive and there you go, the village is there, it's beautiful, it's right here. In Menaggio you have to travel around a little bit, but it's flat. I found it a lot calmer, a lot more relaxing than Bellagio or Varena. It was, again, super nice. We had a coffee that, oh my god, Italian coffee. They don't make coffee like this in France. I don't really like coffee in France, but Italian coffee, like little espresso, I don't know, there's just something about it. It's never kind of burned. It's just, love it. So we had a little coffee and we had ice cream. I was just running around with my camera taking pictures of the kids enjoying the ice cream. And we spent some time on the lake shore. Again, it was just stunning. You can rent boats from pretty much anywhere and visit the lake by yourself. And there was a fairly big port as well in Menaggio where you could do that. We spent the rest of our afternoon in Menaggio, and we went off back by ferry to Varena, and I think that was it. We were back in our hotel room pretty early. That was our last evening in Lake Como. The following day we packed up, took our car, and we went again to Varena to go to Menaggio by ferry with our car to then drive down and back to France. So if you are here with a car and you want to cross, for example, from Varena to Menaggio, as we do today, because going to be driving home from Varena, want to cross to Menaggio and then drive on that side where it's sunny today. For the car fare, it's $23.60. Driving from Menaggio, from the ferry port of Menaggio down to Como, it took us like an hour and a half. That's why I'm saying taking a ferry is probably the quickest way. And I think there is a way to take a ferry from Varena or Menaggio, Bellagio down to Como, because Como has a big ferry port as well. We just didn't do that. We decided to drive. I'm happy we did, because we saw some beautiful places along the way. It was really stunning. There were a couple of times when I was like, stop the car, but the road was really narrow almost all the way, and it was just kind of one lane each way. There was a lot of traffic because there were some road works. It was busy, and it took us a long time to get to Como, and we didn't realize how busy Como would be. We wanted to spend a couple of hours in Como and enjoy ourselves. I didn't really enjoy. Maybe it was just kind of, we were done sitting in the car and then barely could find a place to park in Como. Found a place to eat, which was also quite hectic. It was busy compared to the previous couple of days when we were just chilling and enjoying ourselves exploring. Como was intense. Overall, I thought that that area in Italy wasn't as expensive as I thought it would be. The food wasn't very expensive. The food was very good. I would go back there for sure. It was a really nice trip. The manager from the residence told us that on the weekend usually there's a lot of people from Milan, and Sunday evening is wild when everybody just wants to drive back to Milan after a weekend away. So we were there in the middle of the week. We didn't experience that. It was all great. We didn't experience any kind of bad things apart from that one day of really bad weather. If you are planning on a trip to Lake Como, especially in the fall, 2 big thumbs up. I would recommend. There were a lot of families from England, actually, a lot of visitors from the US, a lot of people from Germany, a lot of people from Austria, France, because it's kind of all near, so school holidays, and people tend to travel to touristy destinations. But I didn't feel like it was super touristy, maybe because it was in the middle of the autumn. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because I do a bit of traveling here. I consider us new to the south of France. We've been here for a year and a half. There's still a lot to explore. I've been to quite a few places, but I'm dragging my family around to show them things that I've seen whilst they're at school, and I'm doing my photography around. So yeah, I will continue bringing my camera on these adventures, and will try and film as much as I can to show you guys what it's like to live in the south of France. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all again next time.